Hi everybody. So I often talk about my birth story when I'm teaching my course. So I thought I would put together a little video just basically explaining what happened to me and what my experiences were. And then I'm hoping to collate some other videos of other people and just to see what their positive experiences were and just to basically try and spread everybody's positive stories of their birth basically. So I probably woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning with some kind of like light period pains. They do recommend that you should just go back to sleep and try not to get too excited, but I don't think that's very easy when you've been waiting all that time for your baby to come. So I remember just breathing through all the surges, which seemed to actually get quite regular quite quickly. I think I got up and had a shower, and then by about 7 a.m. I called the midwife because I felt like compared to my first birth it was, progressing actually quite quickly. So they sent a midwife out to me to my house, and she did an examination, and within those first early hours I'd actually dilated 3.5 centimeters, which I thought was pretty good. So they recommended that I went over to Torbay Hospital because that's where I'd planned to have the baby. So by I think 8 o'clock in the morning I went over to Torbay Hospital. So then I was around 4 centimeters when I was examined at the hospital, and I was just kind of left in the pool room to sit on a ball and just let everything progress nicely. Unfortunately, and this happens a lot with a change of environment, everything seemed to just completely stop. It just faded off, and by 12 o'clock my lovely midwife had said, "You're not sorry, the dog's barking. You aren't actually progressing as we thought you should, so I think the best thing for you to do would be to go home." So with intermittent surges, still, quite strong, I went home and I tried to just rest throughout the day. I think I went for a nice walk along the beach to just try and get things going. And I think by the time the evening came, things were starting to ramp up again, and the intensity and the frequency were starting to increase. And then I think I got to about 10 o'clock at night where I felt like I was really changing and getting into established labour. Called the midwife again. I actually had the same midwife that I had in the morning who came back to my home, and she assessed me and said, "I can really see the difference in you now compared to this morning, so let's go over to the hospital again." So at this point we sort of drove in tandem to Torbay Hospital, much closer together and really quite intense now. Got to Torbay Hospital and decided that I wanted to have some gas and air, because to this point I'd just been using my breathing techniques and listening to my MP3s, and I had been using a TENS machine as well, which I found really good for using at home. So I had some gas and air when I got into the hospital. I was really lucky to have the pool room again, the same midwife in the same room that I'd had in the morning, and so quite looking forward to having some gas and air to obviously just take the pain away a little bit more. One thing with gas and air though is it can make you sick, which isn't a nice experience to have when you're actually having surges. But I found that soon after I'd had that experience, it settled down, and I was able to get in the pool then. So I got into the pool, I think probably about between 11 and 12 midnight, and I just calmly breathed through my surges. I had the room really dark, really quiet. I had my hypnobirthing tracks on, and my midwife was she just sat in the corner. I don't even remember really interacting with her, she was just absolutely amazing. She knew everything about hypnobirthing, so she just literally left me to it. When I was in the pool, I was using the gas and air as well, because I felt like when I'd used it before, because I was sort of stood up and active, it made me feel a bit woozy. But when you're kind of like floaty light in the pool anyway, I found it really helped. So I must have been in the pool for about an hour or so, and then I hit that kind of transitioning period where I suddenly felt like I needed to escape, and I just sort of came out of my zone and said to her that I can't do this. I'm going to need to get out of this pool, and I'm going to need to have some pain relief, which is totally normal. This is, you know, transitioning. This is where it changes from your dilation to actually, you know, the muscles working to push the baby out. So a lot of women experience this, and she understood that, and she just got me through the next surge and the next surge, knowing that, you know, baby would be there soon. So I suddenly, after this period, just felt this like urge to bear down. I hadn't been doing any pushing, and she just said to me, just go with what your body you know, is telling you to do. So all of a sudden I had this immense pressure, and then my waters went. So I wasn't even sure if my waters had gone before, because I was in the pool, but I did feel this kind of pop and this pressure, and that was my waters being released at that last minute. So then every surge I had then, which was literally like the next one, I just birthed her head. And you know, quite surprising, as I, you know, hadn't been examined or anything. I just totally trusted my body, and in that such short time, because I was so relaxed, everything was working completely efficiently as it should be. I remember her saying, you know, just, you know, calm and keep it very slow, because you're going to want to gently birth, you know, the next bit, so you don't cause yourself, you know, any damage from pushing baby too much. So I literally just gently pushed the body out, and then that was it. She was born, and it was just almost like the weirdest feeling euphoric almost, and just so calm. And yeah, it was just one of the most amazing experiences of my life, and that's why I trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher. But I did delayed cord clamping with Primrose, and I was then asked to get out of the pool so that I could birth the placenta, and I wanted to do that naturally, because up to this point I hadn't had any drugs, so I felt like, you know, why start now kind of thing. It did take a little bit longer, and I tried a birthing stool, and then eventually I got up onto the bed, and it was probably within about half an hour I then birthed the placenta. But I didn't have any kind of damage this time. I didn't have any tearing or anything. I just had such a gentle, amazing birth, and I went home from the hospital within 5 hours. So all in all, it was a really, really positive experience. And that's my story. So I'm sure I'll have another story for you in about 6 months' time, which hopefully will be as positive. Thanks.